Hey friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this part 2 of my last video. As promised, I am continuing the topic, and if you haven't seen that video, I will leave you a link up here, so go check it out after watching this one. Last time I talked about rent, and it was more focused around rent, where to look for an apartment, how to look for an apartment, you know, all the various areas of Florence and this kind of stuff. This time I want to kind of continue that topic, but also move a little bit towards how to save money while living in Florence, because Florence is expensive, and I would say it is one of the most expensive Italian cities. Obviously, being very touristy and, you know, having all these landmarks, it's inevitable. However, I have a few tips on how to save money here, as someone who's been living here for 7 months already. So yeah, I just want to share my tips. Before we begin, I remind you to subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed yet, so you don't miss absolutely anything, guys. Hit the bell button down below so you get the notifications of the upcoming videos. And thank you so much to everyone who's supporting my work. Your help is absolutely crucial in helping me to keep this channel afloat, so thank you so much, guys. If you want to support my channel, you can do so by hitting the thanks button down below, or by following the link in the description box to buy me a cup of coffee, or by checking out my travel guides once again through the link in the description box. And now let's get into the video. So, keeping up with the last week's topic, there is a way to save money on rent in Florence, because rent costs a lot. But there is one tip on how you could potentially save some money. How, you'd ask? The short answer would be: do not go to live in Florence. We can all go home now. I'm just kidding. I'm talking about smaller towns around the city. I'm talking about not living in the city, but commuting from all the small towns around Florence. There are plenty of them. It might be easier, I'm not sure about that part, but it might potentially be a little bit easier to find an apartment there without, you know, the full-time contract, for example, if you're self-employed or retired. And for sure, they will cost you way less. Now, guys, I'm talking about several directions from Florence, because there are some directions that are well connected by train. There are train lines, and I'm talking about the train line from Florence to Arezzo, from Florence to Pisa, and from Florence to Lucca. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not ushering you to live in Pisa, Arezzo or Lucca, because those are quite far from the city, unless you want to actually live in those cities, because chances are you won't be commuting as often, you know, from there. So if you want to live in those cities, fine, absolutely fine. But if you want to commute to Florence and actually feel that you live in Florence, but then save some money, I would recommend you to look for the towns on the same train line, but a little bit closer, like Empoli, for example, in the direction of Pisa, or Pontasieve in the direction of Arezzo, Prato and Pistoia in the direction of Lucca. They are all well connected. There are plenty of trains. They're quite, you know, they come quite often, so you won't have to worry about commuting. And if you're commuting by car, then in this case, it's also quite easier, because there are good roads, you know, the good road connection, and this could save you some money if you're willing to commute, of course. One big downside of living in the smaller towns is, of course, the fact that the last train would leave around 11 p.m., around midnight maybe. So, you know, going out, if you want to go out and stay out late, might be a bit complicated unless you are going by car. On the other hand, you know, if you have a car, it's easier to find the parking spot and all in those smaller towns. So, you know, there are pros and cons as anywhere else. And speaking about the car, this is actually my next tip. It doesn't work if you live in the small towns, because frankly speaking, guys, you need a car if you live in small town and commute. Even if you mostly commute by train, you would likely need a car in those towns, because moving around those towns is easier with a car, and also because sometimes there might be a train strike and you might need a car anyway, so you will need a car there. However, if you opt to living in Florence, you can ditch the car and save tons of money. I'm not kidding you, guys. Many people, most people I know here are actually without the cars who live in Florence, because actually there are so many reasons for it, you know. aside from the reason that it is better for the environment unless you have an electric car. I'm talking about actual financial reasons. Not having a car in Florence will save you money on parking because, as I said in my last video, finding a car parking spot is incredibly difficult in Florence, and renting a car parking spot or a garage or something will cost you up to 200 euros per month, so definitely not a money-saving thing. And also, moving around Florence is complicated because you will not be able to go into the ZTL area, the city center, unless it's a weekend, and the streets are super narrow and there are tons of people, so you might not really need it. And then many areas are well connected, and Florence is also very, very walkable. Besides that, you will have to pay Bolauto, which is a car tax, and it costs a lot. You will have to pay it every year. And last but not least, guys, Florence is one of the most expensive cities in Italy for car insurance, because the car insurance price changes based on the city where you live. And when I moved from Bologna to Florence, I found that out the hard way, that it cost almost double the price I used to pay in Bologna. So yeah, having a car is expensive in Florence and really is useless if you live in the city. So maybe consider that. If you want to travel somewhere, if you want to go on a road trip or a weekend trip, most people just rent the car, and it's easier and it's cheaper and it will save you some money too. My next money-saving tip when living in Florence, but also I feel like in most big Italian cities, would be to do the groceries in bigger supermarkets as opposed to the smaller supermarkets in the city center. Now, I know if you live in the city center, obviously it's easier to just stop by a small supermarket. But if you want to save money, and if you want this money-saving plan, bigger supermarkets will usually have better prices and also better choice. I try when possible to go to the big supermarket and located a little bit outside the city center. It's in the shopping center, there's like shopping mall with the big supermarket, and it's just easier, it's more convenient, and it's also saving you some money. Even if it's the same chain, you will still have better prices in bigger supermarkets. Speaking of chains, another way to potentially save money in the long term is by signing up to their loyalty program. Most big chains in Italy will have some kind of a loyalty program, and they will have benefits for the card holders. So once you sign up for the program and get the supermarket's card, you will be able to get promos, discounts, lots of benefits for the card holders. Sometimes they would even offer, some kind of coupons and stuff that you will be able to cash out. Also, there is this way of actually doing your groceries in these chains without really doing anything else and getting some kind of gifts. By just doing groceries, you may receive the bollini. These are like small stickers that you collect, and then you can get quite nice gifts from time to time. So a money-saving tip is that, and also it's a good option. If you're planning to settle down here and just live here, plenty of Italians do that, and I find it a nice touch to my regular weekly daily groceries. My biggest tip would be to watch my videos and to subscribe to my channel. It's a good time to remind you to subscribe once again if you're not subscribed yet, guys, especially to watch my budget travel videos if you want to explore Florence but also other big cities in Italy on a budget, and also all of my other videos where I share my tips and my experience of being an expat here, as well as my travels around this gorgeous country. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram, guys. You will also find the link in the description box, or you can find me through this handle. I post lots of stuff there, just daily stuff, and you will be the first ones to know everything, be up to date on everything that's happening in my life, and it's just easier to connect that way. Now, my next tip would be about how to visit the local museums for free, and yes, it is possible. It may be more difficult for travelers, of course, because when you are visiting Florence for just a short time, chances are you might not catch the days when the museums are free, but if you're living here, things get much easier. First of all, you can visit most museums, the Uffizi Gallery included, for free on every first Sunday of the month. Sometimes during peak season, of course, the queues are longer, but in winter it's much more doable, so I would recommend you that, and you will save tons of money on that, guys, because you'll be able to visit all of these gorgeous museums for free, absolutely, and if you live here, why not? Also, there are some special holidays during the year when you can also visit the museums for free, so not only on the first Sunday of the month, but there are several more days around the year. There is the whole calendar of those dates. Also, some churches that do not usually participate in this free museum day on the first Sunday of the month. And yes, churches, most churches, like important churches like Santa Croce, for example, do charge you for a visit, because Florence is a touristy city and these churches are quite important, so they will charge you unless you want to go there to pray or for the religious service. But if you're going there just to pray, you will usually stay in the limited area, so you will not be able to walk around, and in most cases if you want to visit you will have to pay. But you can also visit these churches for free on some religious holidays, and there will be different religious holidays for different churches when they will have the free day visit. So it's definitely is easier when you live here full time, because you can catch all these dates, and also because you can stay up to date on those days, by just browsing the news and doing some research. You can find out when to visit all these museums for free. Besides, some places like the Bardini Garden, for example, is free for all local residents at all times. You don't have to pay. You can go there and enjoy this gorgeous park for free. Now, my final tip for today would be to go out in local areas. And it seems like an obvious tip, I know, but it takes some time to find all these local spots. If you want to go out, if you like to go out to have dinner or drinks, in the evening, the city center might not be the most ideal place, because if you don't know where to go, there are plenty of great spots in the city center. There are plenty of spots where locals hang out. But if you don't know where to go, guys, you will end up in these touristy places that are extremely overpriced. I kid you not, guys, the prices are absolutely ridiculous in some central places, and the quality will most likely not be as high. However, if you go to the local places, you will save money and you will get the best experience there. From coffee shops to street food to fancy dining, there are options. There are places where locals go and that will cost you much, much less. Speaking of which, I actually have tons of places like this, all listed in my Florence travel guide. So guys, just a reminder for you to check it out. You will find the link in the description box, because I love discovering these non-touristy places and I love sharing them with you, and I have all of them listed and they're all getting updated. Every new place that I discover, every new place that I go to in Florence, I put it there. So by getting this guide, you will also receive all the updates all the time. And even in the city center, there are actually places nestled right behind the popular landmarks that tourists have no idea about, but locals go there, and I find it absolutely fascinating. But yeah, there are these places. You just have to know them to get the best experience and also the best prices. And that's it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video, that it was helpful. Let me know in the comments what else would you like me to cover in terms of living in Florence or in Italy in general, or maybe if there is some travel advice that you'd like to hear from me. I love hearing back from you. And also I've been thinking, about making a video about maybe like useful apps that I use while living here in Florence, or maybe for Italy in general. So let me know in the comments also if you'd like that kind of video, where I will share the best apps, the most useful apps that I use on a daily basis or just regularly, yeah, just an idea that I wanted to share with you. And having said that, thank you so much for being here. Please enjoy your day, enjoy your travels, and I will see you in the next video that will be up this weekend. And actually we are filming that video right now, so I just decided to sit down and chat for a little while filming that video. So yeah, it will be from this gorgeous place. Don't miss it.